Hey, what is happening, you guys? This is Coach Joel, and this is the Icon Blueprint Facebook page, podcast, Icon Fitness. It is where you come to be able to get all the knowledge. All the knowledge about fitness, health, happiness, nutrition, and all the things that happen in those 23 hours outside of the gym. Do we talk a little bit about fitness? Yeah, we talk a little bit about fitness. But what we have found is that it's the 23 other hours that absolutely crush our days. So that's what we're going to be talking about. And specifically today, what we're going to be talking about is intermittent fasting. That is something that I work with people on my 12-week Icon program, is not only intermittent fasting, but basically learning how to eat correctly. Yes, there is a technique to eating, and most people don't know about it. Most people only focus on their, oh, hey, Kim. Most people only focus on their macros or calories, and they get too entrapped in this cycle of what are my calories, and we actually go the opposite way of the way that we should be going. So that is what we're going to be getting into today. A few things before we get started. First and foremost, if you are interested in getting into the 12-week Icon program, visit my website, www.iconfitness.com. Book your clarity call to see if the 12-week Icon program is something that's going to work for you. What we focus on is the other 23 hours, like I said, not only on our health and transforming our bodies, but also transforming our minds and our hearts to live a happier life. And when we live a happier life, we will have a healthier body. The other thing I want to talk about is next week. I got so lucky. I am going to have Coach Jill with me next week, but it's going to be a different time. See, Coach Jill is a brand new mom, and 12:30 isn't going to work for her. So we're going to go live at 10 a.m. next Thursday. If you can't make it, or if you miss it, that's okay. It will be on the podcast. If you haven't yet followed and subscribed to the podcast, head to any podcast platform, type in Icon Fitness, and you will see the logo. Go ahead, subscribe, and like to the podcast. I would greatly appreciate it. That way, you can also listen to it on the go. Okay, so let's get down to business. We're going to dive into nutrition today. This is something that people always want to talk about, and crazy enough, like most things, they make it way more complicated than it needs to be. So we're going to break it down. We're going to get really simplistic here. I want you to think of this like 3 different levers, right? Or gateways or doors, whatever you think, right? And the first lever, in which when I'm talking about these levers, these are levers that we pull throughout the day, right? We're utilizing them throughout the day, whether you know it or not. The first one is the quality of food, right? Or what are we restricting in the types of food? Example, I'm gluten intolerant. I don't have gluten, so I restrict gluten. I also tend to restrict refined sugar, and I tend to restrict anything that's processed, right? I'm restricting those foods, so I'm pulling on that lever. So that's one, the quality, right? And we all kind of know, like, oh yeah, bag of chips over vegetables. Okay, you're pulling the lever either way, whichever one, right? If you're going to restrict one over the other. The next is caloric restriction. This is meaning how much are you actually eating throughout the day? How much food when you sit down are you ingesting? So we can pull that lever. We can say, hey, I'm going to restrict my caloric intake today. I'm going to eat 500 calories, right? Or, right, if anybody's had a cheat day, that lever doesn't get pulled at all. It actually gets thrown into the closet, and we hammer away at like 20,000 calories. I don't know. Maybe that's not you. Maybe that's just me. But we eat a whole pizza and ice cream and everything that gets in our face, and we just hammer it away, right? So we don't even pull that lever at all. We don't even think about it. And then the last one is time restriction, right? When are we eating and at what times throughout the day? Again, most of us know that in some way or form, which is, oh, it's breakfast, it's lunch, it's dinner. Or it's breakfast, it's snack, it's lunch, it's snack, it's dinner, it's snack, right? Not only are we pulling on the lever in terms of caloric, right? Are we restricting any of our caloric restriction? Oh, maybe not, because we're eating so many times throughout the day. But we're also not necessarily pulling that lever when it comes to restricting our timing. So the reason that I laid that baseline down is because I'm going to give you a stat here, and we're going to start off with the quality of food. The stat here is, and this is going to blow your mind, and hopefully I don't offend anybody, but the stat is only 1 out of 10 Americans, here we go again, only 1 out of 10 Americans gets the appropriate amount of fruits and vegetables every day. If you're listening or if you're watching, that is probably you. This is the very first thing that we have to fix before we think about everything else. Everyone tries to cheat this. Everyone would rather take a supplement. Everyone would rather do a protein shake. Everyone would rather do a non-GMO, vegan-friendly, packaged meal than to actually sit down with fruits and vegetables at every single meal. If you didn't listen to the podcast about my number one bulletproof nutritional tip, go back, listen to it. It's talking about the importance of fruits and vegetables. So if we're not pulling that first lever and we're not restricting those bad foods, and we're saying, hey, I'm not going to have protein shakes and protein bars and anything within a package. No, I'm going to keep it as close as I can to the source, which means, did that bell pepper or cucumber or strawberry get picked off the vine over the hill and brought straight here? Or did it get picked off the vine 500 to 1,000 miles from here, flown over here, sat for a while, ripened more, then got packaged, then got, see my point here? The farther it is away from the source, there's more that is processed, the less quality of the food that it is. So focusing on being able to get fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, right, that don't have a barcode on it, doesn't have a nutrition label, that's where we want to get into. And it's the craziest thing when I show people what I have for breakfast, for my fruits and vegetables. I only have usually a handful, right, because that's how I measure. It's all with my hands. I don't grab out my cups. I don't weigh per grams because I don't have to. We don't have to do that. We need to be intuitive with the way that we eat. And so I usually do like maybe a handful, right? I toss that in a bowl. I do a little bit of Greek yogurt. Then I do a full bell pepper. I do another handful of cherry tomatoes. Then I do some nut seeds. Then I do 2 or 3 eggs, chicken sausage, coffee, right? This is my breakfast. Most people are grabbing protein shakes and running out the door. Most people can't stand eating vegetables, or if they do eat vegetables in the morning, you know what they do? Well, I threw some spinach in my scrambled egg. Okay, well, you're definitely the 1 out of 10. You're the 1 out of 10. So The very first thing that we have to do is we have to start focusing on the quality of foods. And it's as simple as this. Start eating fruits and vegetables at every single meal. Make it a rule that you literally cannot have a meal unless it's fruits and vegetables. This is a great way to be able to restrict the bad food because you know you're going to have to eat a full bell pepper or cucumber or squash or whatever the case and scenario is. And vegetables, they look big, but they don't pack a ton of calories. Yet on the other side, when we do packaged foods, they're teeny weeny, but they pack a massive amount of calories and very little micronutrients. We are not doing our body service when we're restricting the amounts of micronutrients and adding more calories that most of the time when those things are packaged, go ahead, take a look at the sugar. That sugar's going to be high. Salt's going to be high. Fat's going to be high. You know what we're really, really good at? We're really good at those things. Fats, sugars, salts. Us Americans, crush it. Crush it. I think at the stats somewhere like 85 or 87% of Americans are way over on those three categories. Salts, sugars, and fats. Why? Because we're eating processed food and we're not eating the fruits and vegetables that we're supposed to be having. So that's the very first thing that we have to focus on. If we're not getting quality, there's no point in me even telling you about intermittent fasting. If you're not pulling on that first lever and going, hey, I got to restrict those fats, sugars, salts, and the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to pull the lever and I'm not going to eat packaged foods. I'm going to only focus on eating fruits and vegetables at every single meal. And when you start getting really good at it, this is where people really get mad at me. They're like, there's no way I can eat that many fruits and vegetables. You are insane. Is that I tell people you can't count your fruits and vegetables in your meal. You have to have it outside of your meal. So even if I have a salad with tomatoes in it and blueberries and nuts and seeds, I still have vegetables and fruits outside of that salad. Because it's an easy rule to be able to follow. If not, we start fluctuating. Well, I had spinach. Well, I mean, check the amount of nutrition when it comes to spinach in terms of your carbohydrates and your macros, your micros. We still need more. I basically tell people, I want you to think that you're a vegetarian that happens to eat meat, or just be a full vegetarian, right? So that is number one. That first lever. If you don't have that lever under control, intermittent fasting has been shown that it will not work for you. If I start intermittent fasting, but when I break my fast, I'm eating packaged goods high in salt, sugar, and fat, you're done. It does you no good. And that's why so many people have come to me and like, oh, I've done intermittent fasting. Didn't work for me. Didn't work. I didn't lose any weight. Oh, cool. Let me see your diet. We do a nutrition audit. And I make them 3 days in MyFitnessPal, put in everything that they're eating, and 9 out of 10 times, if not 10 out of 10 times, not eating nearly enough fruits and vegetables and trying to supplement with protein bars and shakes and all these other different kind of hacks. There's no hack. There's no hack here, guys. Eat fruits and vegetables. Way more than what you think. Again, 1 out of 10. Okay. So the next is the caloric restriction. I know this is going to be crazy for a lot of people, but you're eating too many calories. Okay? Here's the thing. Particularly if you're a CrossFitter out there. All CrossFitters, pay attention. Zoom in on me real quick. All the time, and this is because I was a CrossFit coach too as well. Okay? I'm not throwing any CrossFit coach under the bus here. But we went off and told all of the normal population, people who are exercising on average 3 times a week. Most people only exercise 3 times a week, to eat 6 times a day. Now, that's not a terrible idea if you're a CrossFit coach who has a gym readily available, who has done fitness all their life and trains at a very high level, meaning that our output and our muscle mass, we need more calories. What we forgot or didn't take into consideration is that not everyone else has a gym readily available. Not everyone else is working out 5 to 6 days a week. Not everyone else has the same skeletal mass, muscle mass as we do. So when we're telling you to eat 6 times a day, you usually are eating too much, even if you're trying to eat healthy. And then again, if we're not telling you like, no, I want to see the quality of your foods, then we're going to be in trouble because you're going to think that the packaged protein bar that you're having is good. When it isn't. It's not. Right? So we tend to eat too much. And that's because we have been given not wrong information, just misguided information. Right? If you're only working out 3 times a week, or you're only doing a 20 or 30 minute workout, eating a massive amount of calories is not going to be the way to go. So we need to pull on that lever and go, no, it's time to restrict a little bit. I don't think I need as much as I do. And that is the first step after I get people to start eating quality fruits and vegetables, is we start pulling on the lever in terms of caloric intake by also pulling on the lever of timing. I basically start working with people of going like, hey, you know what you're going to do? You're just going to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Say goodbye to snacks. Because snacks really weren't a thing back in the 50s and 60s. You didn't snack. Who snacked? Nobody snacked. Right? You woke up in the morning, you had your breakfast, dad went off to work, right? Went to the factory, the whistle blew, all the men stopped, they had lunch, then the whistle blew again, they went back to work, and then the whistle blew one more time, and everybody went home, and they ate. And everybody ate at the same time. No time for snacking. Snacking didn't happen. Now, in correlation, move it up to the 90s, and guess what happened? TV, internet. Oh, we can push out to people all these snacks? Yeah. Coca-Cola, fruit snacks, more cereals, right? Then we move into the 2000s after all the snacks kind of got hammered of like, oh, high sugar, right? Saturated fats, it's so bad. So what do those, super smart marketing people do? Pivot. We'll make it non-GMO. We'll make it gluten-free. We'll make it so healthy. We're going to make it seem so healthy. So where do we go? Oh, cool. All right, I won't eat the fruit snacks anymore. I'll eat this other. It's natural fruit. Okay? It's organic, natural fruit. Still with 32 grams of sugar. That you just feel that you need to snack on. Because somebody told you like, yeah, eat six meals a day. Yeah, eat all the time so that your gut is constantly working. Could you imagine running all day long? Trying to do complex equations all day long in your brain. Man, that get exhausting, right? Man, you'd get tired. Well, your gut gets tired of you constantly throwing food into it. And particularly food that is processed, not fruits and vegetables, right? Doesn't have the good bacteria in it. We need that. We need good gut health, right? Coach Emily talked about that 2 podcasts ago. If you didn't catch that one, Coach Emily's podcast was fire. Go back and check that one out. Go check that one out. Okay. So if we now all of a sudden take away snacks and we start nailing down the times that we eat, hey, I'm going to eat at 6 o'clock in the morning for my breakfast. Then I'm going to eat again at 6 o'clock for lunch. And then guess what? I'm going to eat again at 6 o'clock for dinner. Boom. 6, 6, 6. 6-hour windows. Let me tell you right now, you're going to be just fine. I was talking to a really good friend the other night, and they started freaking out when I said, yeah, 6 hours, you'll be fine. Ooh, I don't know, man. Like, I get this, I'm pretty sure my head's going to explode and, my legs are going to fall off and I'm going to pass out at least 16 times. This is what we have been told in our heads. Oh, we can't. No, I have to eat it every 2 to 3 hours. I have to. So, yes, when we go without food because we've constantly been feeding our body, there's always going to be an adaptation. There's going to be a response that your body's going to go, hey, we were used to it like this. Now it's different. But all we have to do is make that change. All we have to realize is that 6 hours is not actually a long time to be able to not eat. Because then we're going 6 hours at dinner, right? So at 6, we eat. Then we don't eat again until 6 the next morning. What are we doing? Oh, we're fasting. A 12-hour fast. I want you to think right now to yourself, what time did I have dinner last night? What time did I have breakfast? Okay. What time did I have dinner? What time did I have breakfast? Was it 12 to 14 hours? A lot of people actually don't even fit in that window. Why? Because they get done with dinner, right? Maybe 6:15, 6:30. Then they kind of like peruse around. And I'm like, oh man, those make a little bit of ice cream. 7 o'clock, they eat a little ice cream, right? It kind of kicks their blood sugar levels up. I'm like, all right, one little bit more bite of blank to blank, right? We're back in the fridge, we're back in the cabinet. It's not until like 8 o'clock, 7:30, 8 o'clock that we're not actually finishing up our last meal. Well, that's not fasting, right? Fasting is getting to a state of ketosis, meaning that our body will start using fat as energy. But if we're still putting in anything that has a caloric, more specifically carbohydrate, into our body, think of it as a reset. It's resetting. That time resets. So that is the first step when it comes to intermittent fasting. Can I not eat for 5 to 6 hours? And can I be consistent? Can I eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner? For my hard chargers that are out there that are thinking to themselves, what do you mean? I have to eat breakfast? That's insane. I don't have time for that. Then you and I need to have a little conversation. 12-week icon program is probably going to be perfect for you, because if your mornings are chaotic, that means your days are chaotic. If your days are chaotic, that means your evenings are chaotic. And so you live in this stress bubble that continues to go round and round. And guess what? It's jacking up your hormones. So you trying to hit the gym, go hard, and wondering why you're not losing that extra weight? Sorry to tell you, your hormones are always going to win. Always going to win. Okay. So now we know our levers. We have first dietary restriction. We're going to restrict the stuff that we don't want in our body. For me, it's gluten. I'm gluten intolerant. That's a big restriction. If not, I'm super inflamed, right? I have GI issues. That's a bad thing, right? But I also restrict. I also restrict sugars and fats and salts and packaged goods. I restrict all of those things, knowing that that is what's best for me. Okay. Then the next one is your caloric restriction. When you sit down to eat, are you mashing on super high caloric dense foods, i.e. not fruits and vegetables? Are you hammering down on stuff that is high in salt, high in fat, high in sugar? That is where it's going to boost up your caloric intake. Then the last one is restricting the time in which we eat. So now we're at this point of, yay, I'm eating fruit and vegetables at every single meal. I'm being cautious of how much is on my plate. Then I'm making sure that I am getting up in the morning to be able to have my breakfast, being okay, not having a snack for another 5 to 6 hours. And then I'll have my lunch, and then I'll have another 5 to 6 hours and be okay without snacking again. Again, if you just make it a rule, right? And I'm huge on rules, right? Not as a restriction, but as actually as a freedom. But if you create a rule and just say, yeah, I'm not the type of person that snacks, then you just become the person that doesn't snack. You just don't do it, right? It's just like, hey, you wouldn't hand a pregnant woman a bottle of vodka and say, go for it. No, the rule is you don't drink while you're pregnant. right? Specifically a bottle of vodka. But some people do. Some people do, right? I know that's an extreme difference, all right? Okay, pregnancy and drinking alcohol, right? Coach Jill's probably gonna get at me for that analogy next week. But you get the point. I had to go extreme for you to be able to get the point. So now we've gotten to the point where we're not snacking. Okay, we're able to go 5 or 6 hours. I'm eating fruits and vegetables. We're sitting down. We're eating slow. Just on that alone, I would put massive amounts of money. You will start losing weight. If nothing else changes, you continue with your exercise, you will start losing weight. How do I know this? Because in the 12-week Icon program, majority of people, 9 out of 10, we go through this process and they come to me and they go, oh man, did I tell you I lost 10 pounds? As almost like it's a question mark. Not this obsessive, like, oh, I just lost 2 pounds. Okay, I'm on the right track. No, it's like, oh, I wasn't paying attention. I lost 10 pounds. Weird. How hard was it? It wasn't hard at all. It's actually really easy. Right? We make things way more complex than we need to. So if we have all those things down, now the last and final piece, right? And this is what everybody's been sitting going like, oh, talk to me about intermittent fasting. Talk to me about intermittent fasting. You can see we're now 26 minutes in. You can now see, hey, you got a lot of work before we get to intermittent fasting. If you don't got step number 1, if you're not pulling the lever when it comes to the quality of your foods and restricting the bad ones, step number 1. Step number 2, realizing what's on your plate and controlling the caloric density of the foods that are on your plate. Hey, that's a super dense caloric food. Gotta go. I need to put all these vegetables on my plate, which is going to seem massive, but it can be very low caloric density and very high micronutrient density. Bingo, that's it. Then we're going to get to the intermittent fasting. I know I've kind of pushed this off. So now we're at to the point of the intermittent fasting. The best way for most people, when we've gotten all those other things down, is to then start skipping your breakfast. Your timing does not change. Okay, so let's go back to the same idea. 666. You skip your 6 a.m. meal, but then guess what? You eat at 12, which is your normal 6 hours later. Then you would eat at 6 p.m. Okay, that is a 18-6 fasting window. 18 hours of fasting, 6 hours of eating time. Okay. When we are going to intermittent fast, we've got to the point we know what we're eating and so on and so forth. Now what we want to focus on is making sure we don't get to the point of binge eating. This again is where intermittent fasting can fall at its knees. It can be incredibly helpful. I mean, I intermittent fast once a month for 24 to 48 hours. Recording on my Whoop, the last time I did intermittent fast, I was at a recovery of 13%. And if you guys don't know what a Whoop is, just know that 13% is real bad. Okay, in the red, I'm failing miserably. I did a 24-hour fast. The next day I woke up and it was at 93%. And it's done that every single time I've done a fast. Your body wants to and appreciates not having food in it at all times. It gives it its opportunity to heal, to recover, to be able to get back to baseline. So, intermittent fasting can be extremely helpful, but if we tend to binge, this is where it breaks us. So this is where we need to be careful. Will our lunches be bigger? Yes. Ideally, you would want your first meal to be the heaviest in terms of the most amount of calories. So your lunch would be the heavier meal, and then your dinner would be your lighter of the meals. Most of the time, if you have been practicing with the 6-hour breaks, you're going to have no problem getting to 6 p.m. and being able to have a meal again. So with that thought, we don't want to necessarily think that we have to catch up all those calories. I have fallen into that trap, and it hurt me when it came to intermittent fasting, is that it got into my head that I got to catch up on all these calories, and I ended up way overeating. So that is something to think about. Now, there's a lot more when it comes to intermittent fasting, but those are the steps that I want you to think about and to take. If you want to join me, on the first of every single month, I do a 24-hour fast, at least, if not a 48-hour fast. There's an amazing app called Zero. It is, I think, an orange emblem. I will leave it in the show notes and a link to it. It has wonderful information when it comes to intermittent fasting. Here is my warning. If you don't have the other ones down and you get too caught up, I'm like, oh, I'm just fasting. It's all about fasting. We're not learning how to be able to eat for life. We're just looking for the next quick fix. We're looking for the protein shake or the protein bar or the supplements or the non-GMO packaged food. We got to stop that. And we have to learn that we're the 9 out of 10 who are not getting the appropriate amounts of fruits and vegetables. So we have to start there. So that is the process that I would tell you guys to go through and to be able to try. If you guys have questions, actually, if you're watching live, you're more than welcome to put in the comments right now. If you guys have any questions about intermittent fasting, you can toss it in there. I literally can see it right now. So if you have any questions, I will give the next minute to be able to see if you guys want to toss something in there. If not, I'm going to kind of wrap it up. Again, I will put that app, that intermittent fasting app, in the show notes. If you are interested and you want to talk more about your nutrition, your hormones, you want to talk more about being able to set and achieve goals through a very crystal clear vision, feel free, reach out to me. I am here to be able to help you. If not, next week, 10 a.m., I'm going to have Coach Jill on the podcast. It's going to be awesome. Jill focuses on working with moms. She works with postpartum moms. She works with moms before they get pregnant. That's not really possible, right? But works with women before pregnancy, during pregnancy, and so on and so forth, right? So you're not going to want to miss next week, 10 a.m. If you do miss it, it will be on the podcast. You will be able to rewatch it. It will be on the Facebook page, right? So don't sweat it. She is going to drop a ton of knowledge. I have a ton of respect for that woman. She is amazing. I can't wait to talk to her. I can't wait for you guys to see her. She is awesome. So Kim does have a question before we get off. Do the windows vary between male and females? I've heard women should not fast as long as men. Yes, Kim, you are correct. And that's really pushing into farther fasting windows. So a 16-8 isn't going to affect, a lot of people who are really, really study fasting, they kind of don't say that fasting is fasting until after 22 hours. Their thing is like, that's not really fasting, right? Not even a 16-8. And there's 18-6 as well. They look at it as just more like time restricting diet, right? You're just restricting the time. Fasting for them doesn't happen until after 22 hours. Now, keep in mind, after 12 hours, we go into ketosis. If we've had no food, right, we go into ketosis. And that's why I encourage people to have that window, because if you're waking up in the morning and you actually go work out first, now you're working out in a fasted state, which has shown to be helpful in terms of losing weight and for your overall health. So that is something to think about. A lot of people are like, oh, I should eat something in the morning. You don't have to. You literally don't have to eat as much as you think that you need to eat. It's just not true. Okay. So Kim, hopefully that answered your question, and we can definitely talk about that a little bit more. I am positive I will come back to this again because I know that people are going to want to talk about it. If you guys have certain things you want to talk about, please leave it in the show notes, right? Put in your comments or your questions and say, hey, man, I would really love to talk about this, right? And again, we talk about everything outside of the gym, even though we do talk about some things inside the gym, but we really focus on those 23 hours because that's where the money is. That is where the massive change is going to take place, is focusing on those 23 hours mindset, right? Our bodies, and also our focus throughout the day. So, all right, you guys, once again, awesome episode. Thank you for everybody who showed up and all the love. Kim, thank you for the comments and the questions. I really look forward to being able to chat with you guys next week, 10 a.m. I'm going to be with Coach Jill. She is amazing, and I'm sure we're going to get into nutrition and also get into a little bit of intermittent fasting next week. So if you want to check that out, check it out. If you miss it, you can go to the podcast. Again, head to any podcast platform, type in Icon Fitness. You will see the big yellow logo. Click on it, subscribe, like, and I will see you guys next time.